My dad pretended to be a beekeeper for years, but I found cameras hidden in his hive equipment, pointing at our bedrooms and bathroom. He had thousands of hours of footage of me and my 11-year-old sister. When he got arrested, Mom confessed in court that she'd known since I was 7 and actually helped plan where to hide the cameras because her sister was abused as a child and she thought watching us 24/7 would keep us safe. I always thought my dad was just really into bees. He spent hours in the backyard with his hives, wearing that white suit and mesh hat, harvesting honey, the works. Mom was proud of his hobby. He even did presentations at my school about pollinators. I was 14 and my sister Emma was 11, so we mostly stayed out of his way. But something felt off about Dad. He always seemed to know things he shouldn't. Like when I told my friend Mia about my crush on Jake Thompson during a sleepover in my room, Dad made weird comments about young love the next morning. Or when Emma practiced her piano recital piece with her door closed, he'd mention the exact parts she'd messed up at dinner. At first, I thought he was just good at guessing. Everything changed on a Thursday after school. I was looking for my phone that I dropped near the hives and decided to check Dad's bee equipment shed. That's when I felt something weird on the wooden frame. A tiny black camera, no bigger than a button, tucked into what looked like a bee observation box. It was pointing toward the house. There were thin wires running from it into the shed's electrical system. That weekend, I waited until Dad went to his beekeeping association meeting. I used his spare key and went into the shed. I nearly threw up at what I found. 2 laptops sat on his workbench with multiple windows open. One showed my room, another showed Emma's room. The third showed the hallway outside our bathroom. There were folders labeled with dates going back 2 years. I clicked one and saw myself sleeping from the night before. Dad had been watching his own kids. The next morning, I cornered Dad in the garage while Mom was at yoga. "I found your cameras," I said, my voice shaking. Dad didn't even look surprised. He just smiled and kept organizing his hive tools. "Those are for monitoring bee behavior near the house, Sophia. Important for the colony. But they're pointed at our bedrooms. Bees are attracted to certain pheromones," he calmly interrupted. "I need to track their patterns. Totally normal beekeeping practice." I told Mom that afternoon. Dad came in with his tablet showing beekeeping forums about proximity monitoring and said I'd misunderstood because I'd been stressed about high school. He even said my paranoia was probably from too much social media and maybe I needed therapy. Mom took his side. She always took Dad's side. But Dad got bolder after that. During family dinners, he'd bring up private conversations we'd had in our rooms. When Emma told her friend about her first period over the phone, Dad bought her pads the next day without Mom telling him. When I stayed up late FaceTiming friends, he'd make subtle jokes about beauty sleep at breakfast. The worst part was his smirk, knowing we were trapped. Then one Saturday morning, I caught him in Emma's room with his toolbox, installing something in her air vent while she was at soccer practice. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "Checking for bee infiltration. They can get into ventilation systems," he said without stopping. "You're putting a camera in my sister's room. She's 11. Dad finished his work and turned to face me with that same calm smile. "I'm protecting this family. You'll understand when you're older." That's when I knew I had to tell someone, but not Mom. She'd never believe me. I told my sister everything that night. Emma started crying when she realized what it meant. "He's been watching me change clothes," she whispered. "Dad's been watching me?" We felt sick. This was our father. We didn't go to Mom. We went straight to our school counselor, Miss Zelaya. Emma was crying so hard she could barely talk. I showed Miss Zelaya photos I'd taken of the cameras and the computer setup. She believed us immediately and called Child Protective Services while we sat in her office. The police came to our house that afternoon. They made Dad show them everything while Mom screamed that this was a misunderstanding. They found cameras in places we didn't even expect. Vents, fake bee equipment, even in the bathroom fan. The detective said what Dad did was illegal regardless of him owning the house. They found thousands of hours of footage. Dad tried to claim it was for our safety, but then they found he'd been organizing the videos in ways that made everyone sick. Dad was arrested. Mom couldn't believe it at first, kept saying we'd ruined the family. But when the detective showed her some of what they found, she threw up and couldn't stop crying. We had to stay with our aunt while the investigation continued. Fast forward 6 weeks later to the court case. Mom swore to tell the truth, then looked at me and Emma with tears streaming down her face. "I need to confess something," she said, gripping the rail. "I've known since he installed the first camera when Sophia was 7. I helped him plan where to put them." My knees buckled. Emma grabbed my hand, her fingers ice cold and trembling. The courtroom spun around me as Mom's words echoed in my head. 7 years. She'd known for 7 years. The bailiff moved toward us, concern etched on his face. Emma's breathing came in short gasps, her face turning pale. I pulled her close, trying to steady myself while supporting her weight. Mom kept talking from the witness stand, her voice cracking but determined. "I thought it would keep them safe," Mom continued, wiping tears with a tissue. "After what happened to my sister Annie when we were kids, I couldn't let that happen to my girls. The cameras were protection." Emma's body convulsed and she lurched forward. I barely got her to the courtroom doors before she started retching. The bailiff helped us into the hallway as the judge called for a 15-minute recess. In the courthouse bathroom, I held Emma's hair back while she emptied her stomach into the toilet. My own nausea churned, but I forced it down. Through the thin walls, I heard voices in the hallway. "That poor mother," a woman said. "She's just trying to protect her daughters from themselves. Teenagers hide so much these days." I recognized her as one of Mom's church friends who'd been sitting in the gallery. The bathroom door opened and Aunt Linda rushed in, her face flushed with anger. "Are you girls okay?" She knelt beside Emma, pressing a damp paper towel to her forehead. Emma nodded weakly, leaning against the stall wall. I helped her rinse her mouth at the sink while Aunt Linda paced behind us. "I can't believe your mother," Aunt Linda muttered. 7 years. 7 years of this." The bathroom door swung open again. Mom's friend from church poked her head in, her expression sympathetic but directed at the wrong person. "Linda, you need to understand. Your sister was trying to prevent something terrible. After what happened to Annie, get out!" Aunt Linda snapped. "Just get out!" The woman retreated, but not before shooting me a look that clearly said I was the villain in her version of this story. We stayed in the bathroom until Emma stopped shaking. When we emerged, the hallway was crowded with people returning from the break. Mom stood near the courtroom doors with her lawyer, surrounded by supporters. A reporter held up her phone, recording as Aunt Linda confronted her sister. "How could you?" Aunt Linda's voice carried over the crowd. "They're your daughters, not prisoners." Mom straightened her shoulders, lifting her chin. "You don't understand what teenage girls hide. The internet, the boys, the dangers. I was protecting them." The reporter pushed closer, capturing every word. I pulled Emma away from the scene, but the prosecutor intercepted us near the water fountain. "Sophia, Emma," she said gently. "I know this is overwhelming, but I need to ask. Would you be willing to testify about both your parents?" Emma's grip on my arm tightened. "Please don't make me talk about them," she whispered, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. The prosecutor nodded, understanding. "We have enough evidence without your testimony, but if you change your mind, let me know." During the lunch break, Aunt Linda drove us to a small diner 2 blocks from the courthouse. Emma picked at a grilled cheese while I stirred my soup without eating. The bell above the door chimed and Dad's mother walked in. Grandma had been attending the trial every day, sitting in the back row with her hands folded in her lap. She approached our booth slowly, as if we might bolt. "Girls," she said, sliding into the seat across from us. "I know this is hard." She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the table to me. "Your mom was just following your father's father's lead. He convinced her it was necessary. I opened the envelope. $500 in 20s. Grandma's hand trembled as she pushed it closer. For necessities, she said. I know things are tight with you staying at Linda's. I wanted to push the money back, but Emma needed new school supplies and her therapy wasn't fully covered by insurance. I tucked the envelope into my jacket pocket, hating myself for taking it. Back at the courthouse, the afternoon session was about to begin. As we climbed the steps, I spotted Mom's best friend Janet near the entrance. She was wearing Mom's navy blazer, the one with the silver buttons that Mom loved. The realization hit me like a slap. Janet had been visiting Mom during her bail, bringing her clothes, keeping her company, probably telling her everything about what Emma and I were doing. Inside the courtroom, we'd barely sat down when Emma's phone buzzed, then mine, then Aunt Linda's. 3 different crises erupted at once. Emma's school was calling about missed assignments. Aunt Linda's boss was threatening to fire her if she missed more work for court appearances. My phone showed a text from our bank about frozen accounts. I can't access the college fund, I whispered to Aunt Linda. It needs Mom's signature to unfreeze. Mom's lawyer must have overheard because he leaned over to his assistant and whispered something. Why would someone keep cameras running for 7 whole years without ever using them for their supposed purpose? Mom claims she was protecting them from danger, but she never actually stopped anything bad from happening. She just watched. Within minutes, he approached us during a brief pause in proceedings. Perhaps we can work out an arrangement, he said smoothly. Your mother is willing to sign whatever paperwork is needed for your immediate needs, in exchange for some cooperation regarding the family narrative. I wanted to tell him exactly where he could put his cooperation, but Emma needed her therapy to continue. Our insurance required Mom's signature too, since she was still technically our legal guardian. When court resumed, Mom returned to the witness stand. This time, she broke down completely, sobbing as she described her postpartum depression after Emma was born. I couldn't sleep, she wailed. I kept checking on them every hour, terrified something would happen. My husband suggested the cameras as a solution, just so I could rest, knowing they were safe. Several jurors shifted in their seats, sympathy clear on their faces. One woman dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Emma leaned close to me, her voice barely audible. Maybe she really was trying to protect us? Mom continued her testimony, describing finding me crying alone in my room when I was 7, how helpless she'd felt not knowing why I was upset. I just wanted to understand my daughters, Mom said, to keep them safe from whatever was hurting them. The prosecutor stood for cross-examination, holding a manila folder. Mrs. Davidson, you stated the cameras were installed due to concerns about your daughter's safety, correct? Yes, Mom whispered. Can you explain then why these receipts show camera equipment purchased 3 months before any of the incidents you've described? The prosecutor placed the receipts on the evidence table. This one is dated on Sophia's 5th birthday. There's even happy birthday written in the memo line. Mom's face crumpled. The supportive juror stopped dabbing her eyes. After court adjourned for the day, we tried to leave through a side exit, but reporters were waiting. The local news crew got clear footage of Emma and me before Aunt Linda could shield us with her jacket. That night, the evening news led with, "Daughters betrayed. Local mother admits to years of secret surveillance." Our faces were pixelated, but anyone who knew us would recognize Emma's soccer team jacket and my purple backpack. The next morning brought a fresh wave of humiliation. Someone had created a Facebook group called Mothers Protecting Children, with Mom's picture as the profile image. The description claims she was a caring mother being persecuted by an ungrateful teenager who was manipulating her younger sister. By lunch, the group had over 200 members. Posts poured in about kids these days and parents' rights. Someone shared my Instagram profile, pointing out old posts where I'd called our house a prison and my parents wardens with laughing emojis. Those posts were from 2 years ago, typical teenage complaints, but now they were evidence of my troubled behavior. At school, I felt eyes on me everywhere. Some kids whispered behind their hands. Others gave me pitying looks. My chemistry teacher asked if I needed to speak to the counselor about my family situation. I spent my free period in the library, researching legal documents on the public computers. I needed to understand what was happening. What came next? The librarian, Mrs. Patterson, noticed I'd been there for 2 hours straight. "Sophia, dear, are you all right?" she asked, glancing at my screen full of legal terminology. "Just research," I mumbled. Later, I found out she'd called the school counselor about my obsessive behavior, worried I was spiraling. That evening, Emma discovered all our streaming services had been logged out. The passwords had been reset from Dad's devices before his arrest. Her comfort shows, the ones she watched to fall asleep, were now inaccessible. "Daddy won't even let me watch cartoons," she said, staring at the login screen. I tried to explain it was probably automatic, that Dad couldn't access anything from jail, but she just pulled her blanket over her head. The next day at school, I couldn't keep my eyes open in history class. Nightmares had kept me up all night, dreams where cameras grew from the walls like mushrooms. My teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, pulled me aside after class. "Sophia, you fell asleep 3 times. That's not like you." His expression shifted from concern to suspicion. "Are you taking anything? Using anything to cope with stress?" "No, I just haven't been sleeping well. I'm going to need you to speak with the nurse." School policy. The nurse called Aunt Linda, who had to leave work again to pick me up. The school mandated a substance assessment, which required parental consent. Since Mom and Dad were still our legal guardians, we needed their signatures. That evening, Aunt Linda's husband, Robert, sat us down at the dinner table. Their own kids, our cousins, were sent to their rooms. "I'm sorry," Robert said, not meeting our eyes, "but this is affecting our family too. The calls from school, the court dates, the drama. Either you girls need to find somewhere else to stay, or I do." Aunt Linda's face went white. "Robert, you can't be serious. I won't have my kids exposed to this," he said firmly. "I'm sorry, but I won't." The tension in the room grew unbearable. Aunt Linda stood up, her hands shaking as she gripped the edge of the table. Robert walked out without another word, leaving us in stunned silence. That night, I heard Aunt Linda crying in her bedroom. Emma curled up next to me on the pull-out couch in the basement, her small body trembling. Neither of us slept. The following morning, we woke to find Aunt Linda making breakfast as if nothing had happened. Robert had already left for work. Their kids ate quietly, avoiding eye contact with us. The atmosphere felt like walking on broken glass. At the grocery store later that day, the community division became painfully clear. Half the shoppers turned away when they saw us, while others whispered behind their hands. Mrs. Baez, our former Sunday school teacher who managed the store, watched us from behind the customer service counter. When we reached the checkout, she quietly waved us through without letting us pay. I noticed the neighborhood Facebook page open on her phone, our story trending with hundreds of comments. Back in court, Mom took the stand again. She testified about only checking the camera feeds during concerning times, but the prosecutor pulled up access logs showing she'd watched hours of footage from the night of my sleepover with Mia. Mom's face flushed as the evidence displayed on the courtroom monitor. During a break, Mia found me in the hallway. She looked uncomfortable, shifting her weight from foot to foot. She explained that her mother needed Mom's recommendation letter for nursing school applications submitted months ago. The connection made my stomach turn, but Mia assured me she believed what happened to us. Still, I could see the strain in her eyes. The prosecutor's next line of questioning revealed the depth of Mom's lies. By proving she'd watched us during normal teenage moments, not just concerning times, Mom looked worse for hiding ordinary things. Every normal secret I'd kept, every private moment, had been violated under the guise of protection. The judge granted granted Mom a supervised phone call with us the next day. Emma's face lit up for the first time in weeks when she heard Mom's voice through the speaker. I stood frozen, watching my sister smile while talking to the woman who'd betrayed us. The conflict tore at me, seeing Emma's desperate need for her mother despite everything. After the call, the prosecutor pulled me aside. Both families were preparing character assassinations, she warned. Things would get uglier from here. Mom's childhood friend had started dating the father of one of my classmates. During their dates, she casually gathered information about Emma and me, passing updates to Mom during bail meetings. She'd even quoted Emma's favorite book in conversation, showing how deeply she'd researched us. In court, Mom claimed she'd tried to minimize invasive camera angles. The memory surfaced immediately. Mom suggesting I wear modest clothing to bed, comments about proper pajamas that had seemed caring at the time. Now the context made me sick. My old Instagram posts surfaced in Mom's defense documents. Every joke about our house being a prison, every eye roll emoji about my warden parents, became evidence of my troubled behavior. Those normal teenage complaints now painted me as an ungrateful daughter. During Emma's first therapy session with Dr. Baez, she revealed something that shattered me. Mom had told her the cameras were like guardian angels, watching over them when she couldn't. Emma had believed it, had found comfort in the idea before learning the truth. A neighbor's Ring doorbell footage emerged during the investigation canvas. The video showed Mom retrieving items from Dad's shed the night before his arrest. She'd known what was coming and tried to hide evidence. The prosecutor explained that family court, separate from the criminal trial, might view our accusations as a parental alienation attempt. The complexity of the legal system felt overwhelming, each new revelation adding another layer of confusion. I guessed Mom's email password using Emma's birthday. Her drafts folder contained letters to Dad discussing camera coverage gaps. One email specifically mentioned needing a better angle in Emma's room. My hands shook as I took screenshots. Online support groups had started posting about Dad's commissary purchases in jail. He'd been buying snacks for other inmates' children, painting himself as a generous father even behind bars. The narrative manipulation made me furious. Dr. Morris, the court-appointed evaluator, interviewed me about acting out based on Mom's claims. She told him about friends visiting, twisting normal teenage socialization into concerning behavior. Her mom's buying camera equipment on Sophia's 5th birthday, and writing happy birthday in the memo makes me wonder what kind of person sees surveillance as a gift. The timing seems oddly specific for someone claiming postpartum concerns about Emma's safety later. Every question felt like a trap. During Mom's testimony, I tried recording with my phone for evidence. Mom spotted the reflection in her water pitcher and paused mid-sentence. Her eyes met mine as she said sweetly that I was still trying to watch her. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Emma's school pickup deadline created an impossible choice. Important testimony was scheduled for 3 p.m., but leaving Emma waiting alone would give Mom's lawyers ammunition about neglect. I chose Emma, missing crucial evidence presentation. A CPS worker admitted privately that Mom's psychological evaluation showed concerning patterns, but wasn't disqualifying for eventual custody. The system seemed designed to reunite families regardless of the damage done. I found Mom's jewelry in Emma's backpack one evening. Emma had been secretly taking items from our old house during supervised visits, wanting Mom to have pretty things when she came back. Mom's perfume still clung to a silk scarf Emma had hidden under her pillow. Mom's lawyer offered a deal: family therapy with a misunderstanding narrative, or risk an unstable guardian evaluation of Aunt Linda. The threat felt like a knife to my throat. Refusing would be positioned as choosing revenge over Emma's well-being. When I declined the deal, Mom's lawyer filed a motion with the court. My refusal to cooperate with family reunification was framed as harmful to Emma's best interests. Security footage I'd remembered from one angle actually showed a different timestamp when examined closely. Mom's lawyer used this minor discrepancy to question all my memories. The right trauma with the wrong details became a weapon against us. Emma's diary, found in Mom's dresser during evidence collection, revealed her confusion. She'd written about feeling watched by angels but also being scared when changing clothes. The contradiction showed how Mom's manipulation had twisted Emma's perception of safety. Evidence emerged showing Mom teaching Dad how to hide cameras better. Her protection narrative crumbled as it became clear she'd been preventing detection, not preventing harm. Grandma faced an impossible choice between supporting her son and maintaining a relationship with us. She chose Dad publicly, but secretly funneled money for our therapy through church donations. The pastor ensured the funds remained anonymous to protect our dignity. I manipulated Janet into revealing Mom kept backup drives by pretending to want closure. The conversation felt dirty, using Mom's own tactics against her supporters. A chance encounter at Mom's hair salon revealed her appointment book. She'd met with a child custody specialist months before we discovered the cameras. The premeditation made everything worse. Mom's forgotten cloud account contained audio files of her directing Dad on camera placement. Her voice, calm and methodical, explained optimal angles for surveillance. The evidence was damning. Dad's brother emerged claiming we needed stable family. He and his wife sought custody, conveniently needing Mom's professional reference for his wife's job application. The opportunism disgusted me. Fighting multiple custody claims caused me to miss Emma's panic attack at school. The incident report marked me as a neglectful guardian, playing into Mom's narrative about my inability to care for Emma. Legal bills drained our education funds while Mom emptied joint accounts Dad couldn't access from jail. Financial warfare became another battlefield in our family's destruction. A confrontation at Emma's favorite ice cream shop traumatized the teenage employees. Mom had shown up during our outing, creating a scene that required police intervention. The incident painted me as aggressive and unstable. I lost my after-school tutoring job when parents expressed discomfort with our situation. The replacement tutor was Mom's friend's daughter, showing how Mom's network still controlled parts of our lives. We lived in Aunt Linda's basement while Mom's supporters held prayer circles in our family home. Mom still legally co-owned the property, making our displacement even more painful. During Dad's birthday, Grandma begged me through the jail video visit to let our family heal. The pressure to forgive and forget felt suffocating. My push for evidence cost Mia's mother the nursing recommendation when their connection was revealed during a background check. Mia asked why I had to involve her mom, and I couldn't give her a good answer. Mia's parents fought about finances after the lost opportunity. Her dad blamed her mom for choosing the wrong friends. I continued pursuing evidence knowing I was destroying my only friend's family stability. Emma asked again during a breakdown if Mom had really been scared for us. I couldn't immediately answer, the question hanging between us like a blade. In court, I admitted climbing out my window once to meet friends. The confession gave credibility to Mom's supervision claims, even though it was one incident years ago. Video evidence revealed I'd dismissed Emma's bedtime fears as babyish, missing real signs of distress. The guilt of my own failures as a sister crashed over me. Mom's lawyer filed an emergency motion claiming I was parentifying myself based on the court evaluator's notes. Aunt Linda's insurance had inadvertently provided access to my therapy records. Mom's testimony revealed her sister Annie had been abused by a trusted babysitter. The trauma drove her surveillance obsession, twisting protection instinct with control. She genuinely believed cameras prevented a similar fate for us. I used Emma's trust to record her saying she missed Mom during a vulnerable moment. The betrayal of my sister for legal evidence marked a turning point in who I was becoming. The protective older sister I'd always been died as strategic calculation took over. Every interaction became potential evidence, every conversation a possible advantage. I secured evidence of Mom's obsession by telling Janet her daughter seemed troubled and should be watched carefully. Using Mom's own paranoia against her supporters felt like crossing a moral line I couldn't uncross. A supervised visit showed Mom's genuine breakdown. She sobbed about wanting to keep us safe like Annie wasn't. Both of us cried over the shared trauma, the generational pain that had poisoned our family. The judge considered Mom's trauma-driven mental health issues as a mitigating factor in sentencing. Emma's upcoming testimony would determine if Mom received probation or prison time. Janet's young daughter asked why I was hurting my mom when she loved us so much. The child couldn't understand boundaries, couldn't grasp how love could become control. Teachers divided in their support. Some offered understanding while others distanced themselves from our troubled family dynamic. The school became another battlefield of judgment. The judge explained that emotional abuse through surveillance was harder to prove than physical abuse. The legal system seemed designed for bruises, not psychological wounds. Mom's guilt-ridden coworker provided her work computer search history. It showed obsessive research into teenage warning signs and hidden dangers. She'd called it protecting us, but the volume revealed obsession. The coworker warned this was all she could do before her boss threatened termination for involvement. Even small acts of truth came with consequences. The search history revealed Mom had researched teenage warning signs obsessively before any cameras were installed. Page after page of articles about hidden dangers, secret behaviors, and parental monitoring filled her browser history dating back to when I was 5 years old. Mom's documentation of concerning behavior became clear when the prosecutor presented a handwritten monitoring schedule found in her recipe box during the home search. The schedule started on my 5th birthday and escalated with each normal developmental milestone. Swimming lessons at 7 meant bathroom cameras. First sleepover at 9 triggered bedroom surveillance. Emma starting her period prompted the most invasive angles yet. I sat in the courtroom staring at the evidence, realizing Mom had chosen surveillance over every opportunity for honest communication. She never just asked us about our lives, our feelings, our struggles. Instead, she watched from the shadows, collecting footage like trophies. During her testimony, Mom claimed Dad had initiated everything, but then she slipped. She mentioned checking the camera in the basement storage room, a place Dad never entered because of his dust allergies. The prosecutor caught the inconsistency immediately. I presented the timeline I'd compiled, showing Mom's independent actions without any satisfaction, only sadness. Justice felt hollow when it meant destroying my mother's credibility piece by piece. The pattern of escalating control became undeniable as teachers and neighbors corroborated the timeline during their testimonies. The courtroom filled with community members for the final testimony phase. The seating arrangements revealed the neighborhood's division clearly. Former friends sat with Mom's family while others positioned themselves behind us. Mom rocked slightly in her chair while Dad appeared via video link from jail, both displaying the same nervous finger-tapping habit Emma and I had inherited. Truth emerged through the compilation of Emma's therapy records, text messages, and testimony chronology. Each piece of evidence painted a picture of systematic violation disguised as protection. Mom's coworker took the stand, admitting she'd seen Mom reviewing footage at work for hours, checking that we were safe. Her voice cracked as she testified, knowing her words would damage Mom's case but unable to lie about what she'd witnessed. The judge ordered continued psychological evaluations for all parties, including extended family members seeking custody. The complexity of our situation meant no quick resolutions, no easy answers. Mom's recipe box hiding a monitoring schedule starting on my 5th birthday makes me really curious about how long she'd been planning this whole thing before any cameras even existed in homes. Every adult who wanted custody would undergo scrutiny. A technology expert authenticated Mom's monitoring schedule despite the defense attorney's attempts to claim forgery. The handwriting analysis matched Mom's grocery lists, permission slips, and birthday cards from over the years. The evidence was irrefutable. The prosecutor's closing argument highlighted not just the crimes, but the intergenerational trauma patterns. Mom's mother had been similarly controlling, installing locks on bedroom doors and reading diaries. The cycle of hypervigilance had passed from grandmother to mother to daughters. Mom's final breakdown on the stand revealed the depth of her delusion. She genuinely believed we would thank her someday for keeping us safe from what happened to Annie. Her tears were real, her pain authentic, but her actions remained inexcusable. The judge asked if I wanted to provide a victim impact statement for the sentencing phase. I spent 3 sleepless nights writing and rewriting my words. When the moment came, I asked for mandatory therapy rather than maximum prison time. Mom was sick, not evil, and prison wouldn't heal the generational wounds that had led us here. The judge deliberated for 2 hours before returning with the custody decision. Aunt Linda would maintain guardianship with specific stipulations for stability and continued therapy for all of us. Mom would serve 2 years of house arrest with mandatory psychiatric treatment. Dad received 5 years in minimum security prison with required counseling. Our church congregation split over the verdict. Some supported the misguided mother narrative, while others recognized the need to prioritize child safety. The division ran deep, affecting friendships that had lasted decades. Sunday services became tense affairs with whispered conversations and pointed looks. I started my senior year at a new school across town while Emma began 8th grade. The fresh start helped, though some days were harder than others. Emma's therapy sessions showed progress. She'd started laughing again during lunch with new friends who knew nothing about our past. Restraining orders prevented direct contact, but Mom sent permitted letters through her lawyer. They arrived monthly, filled with apologies and explanations. Emma sometimes asked to hear them, and I would read selected portions that seemed least manipulative. The financial aftermath took months to sort out. Court-appointed trustees managed the sale of our childhood home, dividing assets between Mom's treatment costs and our education funds. The house sold to a young family who painted over the patches where cameras had been removed. Robert eventually returned home after Aunt Linda agreed to family counseling. Their marriage survived, though strained. He learned to separate his anger at the situation from his relationship with us. Their children slowly warmed up to us again, family dinners becoming less awkward over time. Grandma continued her anonymous donations through the church, funding not just our therapy, but also support groups for other families dealing with surveillance abuse. She never spoke to us directly, but ensured we had resources for healing. Emma's progress in therapy accelerated when Dr. Baez introduced art therapy. She painted her feelings when words failed, creating abstract pieces that gradually shifted from dark chaos to brighter, more organized patterns. Her therapist said it showed remarkable resilience. I found part-time work at a local bookstore, far from anyone who knew our story. The elderly owner, Mr. Burt, never asked questions about my past, just taught me about inventory systems and recommended books he thought I'd enjoy. The normalcy felt like medicine. Nia's family recovered from their financial setback when her mother found a better nursing program that didn't require recommendations. We rebuilt our friendship slowly, meeting for coffee monthly. She never asked for details about the trial, just offered steady support. Mom's former supporters gradually dispersed as details from the trial became public record. The Facebook group defending her dwindled to a handful of members posting increasingly desperate justifications. Even Janet stopped visiting after mom's therapy sessions revealed the depth of her obsession. 2 years later, I helped Emma decorate her college dorm room. We deliberately chose an open floor plan with no hidden corners, no spaces where someone could install surveillance equipment without detection. We were survivors building lives with healthy boundaries, understanding finally that love without trust isn't love at all. It's control wearing love's mask. Perfect endings, just the right timing. But hey, sometimes stories land that way. Thanks for sticking around, and if you made it this far, drop a comment. I read everyone. Catch you next time.